By the way, one of the simplest realities of money is that money reduces upon spending. Money is finite. Money gets depleted as you spend it unless you are spending on investment. Look, if you had 1,000 shillings today and you took out 10 shillings to buy airtime, the remaining amount is no longer 1,000 shillings. Even if you wanted to call it 1,000, even if you went ahead and called it 1,000, it is no longer 1,000 shillings. It is 990 shillings. Now, the more you spend out of that balance, the more it reduces until eventually it gets depleted. So why is it important that we should acknowledge this simple reality of money? It is because some of us spend money as if we have been given incentives to spend money. Some of us spend money as if we have been promised to be rewarded for spending. Some of us spend money as if the money is increasing upon spending. Haven't you seen how some of us behave around payday? We walk as if we have acquired artificial wings. We want to announce to the entire world that we are the new kings and queens in town. We want everyone to come and see how powerful we suddenly became. Many of us will literally summon people around us to just come and see how far we can go in demonstrating just how loaded we suddenly became. Haven't you seen how during that time, many of us will be buying things that we do not need or things that are not budgeted for? Many of us will be buying things in quantities that we cannot manage and then eventually throw away the bulk of the remainder as leftovers. Total wastage. It's just because we have not acknowledged the reality that money reduces upon spending. Now, during that time again, our vocabulary even changes. We want to speak in a manner to demonstrate that money is no longer our problem. We change the phrases and the words that we use, and we want to announce to the world that the least of our bothers is actually money. You will hear statements like, pick anything you want, keep change, pick me from the gate, you don't worry about money. You don't have to pay me. This is little money. And so many of such statements. The interesting thing about this simple reality of money is that it doesn't take long before reality checks in. It doesn't take long before we realize that we can no longer see the money. A couple of days down the line after the money hits the account, we can no longer see it. And that is the time many of us will be picking pen and paper, beginning to scratch our heads, trying to remember so hard what we spend the money on. That is the time we're trying to recall what has been happening from the first time when the money came. And we will scratch our heads so badly that some of us have begun losing hair because we cannot remember how the money disappeared. And for many of us, we begin to think that at that point we are budgeting. I call it reversed budgeting because what you're doing at that point is actually accounting. You're trying to account for how the money was spent, but you're not budgeting. You're not helping anything. If anything, the money is already gone. But I like how we console ourselves when we suddenly realize that we cannot even remember how we spent the money and the money is gone. And we console ourselves and we say, at least sikutumia vibaya. Haukutumia vibaya, and the money is not there. You have 27 more days looking at you before you get the next money. And you're here telling yourself that at least haukutumia vibaya. But how are you going to survive the 27 days that are looking at you? Probably then, that is when consumer debt begins to knock at your door. That is the danger of failing to acknowledge that simple reality of money. Now, the importance of acknowledging that reality is that it keeps you alert. It makes you want to be deliberate. on the items that you want to spend your money on, because every time you remember that as I spend this money, it is coming down, as I spend this money, it is getting depleted, then you will want to be more cautious. You will want to be more deliberate in determining exactly what will be used by this money. You don't want to just be spending. You don't want to be using the money left, right, and center only for 2 hours before the money gets depleted, yet you still have a whole month looking at you. You want to sit down and determine and say, this is how I want this money to benefit me. This is how I want to be using this money until I receive the next money. You want to be cautious. You want to be conscious even as you spend that money. Look, you can do better. And this is, by the way,